Welcome to this short presentation about malpractice and maladministration. I'm Sarah Payne, Qualification Development Officer at MP Awards. There are a few reasons why we put this presentation together, but mainly it's because there is a lot of confusion and misunderstanding around malpractice and maladministration, and we wanted to make it a little clearer. The purpose of this webinar then is to provide you with some information on malpractice and maladministration, including definitions and interpretations of both. To give some examples and hypothetical situations to help illustrate the definitions. To ensure everyone is aware of the potential seriousness of some seemingly harmless actions, and to point you in the right direction of what to do and who to contact if anything happens or could potentially happen that could be classed as malpractice or maladministration. The definition of malpractice is given as any deliberate action, neglect or other activity likely to invalidate a qualification or bring into doubt the integrity of the assessment and or verification process, whether by the learner, centre staff or any others involved in providing the qualification. There are some important points within this definition. The first is the word deliberate. It's important to understand that this should not be confused with the word malicious, because many instances of malpractice are committed because individuals believe they are acting in the best interests of the learner, the centre, or others. A deliberate action is one which is done intentionally, regardless of whether the intent is positive or negative. The other important thing to note is that malpractice may be committed by anyone involved in the provision of a qualification. This may be the learner, the assessor, the centre coordinator, awarding organisation staff, and so on. I'll now list some brief examples of malpractice. Firstly, failing to keep assessment materials secure is an example of malpractice because it calls into question the integrity of the assessment. Leaving a pack of assessment papers in a training room unsupervised, for example, compromises confidentiality and opens up the possibility that assessor malpractice can lead to candidate malpractice by having sight of the assessment ahead of time. Next, candidates helping each other during a test. This is candidate malpractice, but giving candidates the opportunity to assist each other is often a result of assessor malpractice and occurs when there is insufficient supervision or when the room has not been set up correctly. Candidates may require reasonable adjustments in order that they have a fair chance at completing the assessment. If these adjustments are not provided, then this would count as malpractice. There should be sufficient checks carried out on candidates' identities so that it would be impossible for someone to impersonate another candidate, but this could be attempted and as such is candidate malpractice. I mentioned this before, but there are guidelines for how rooms should be set up to minimise the opportunities for candidate malpractice. But failing to set up a room according to the guidelines, for example allowing candidates to sit close to each other, is assessor malpractice because it calls into question the integrity of the assessment. Moving on now to maladministration. This is where the most confusion lies, so I'd like to just clarify the meaning here. The definition of maladministration is any activity or practice likely to invalidate a qualification or bring into doubt the integrity of the assessment and or verification process. Maladministration is usually the result of a genuine mistake or administration error. However, repeated instances of maladministration will constitute malpractice. The following are just a few examples of maladministration. First, using outdated documentation. At MP Awards we keep all qualifications under constant review, and if any changes are made, such as the recent change from QCF to VQ, we update all forms and documents and make them available to centres via the client login area. The most recent version of forms should always be used, and it's a centre's responsibility to ensure this. Using old versions of documentation constitutes maladministration. Next, misplacing assessment papers. If the papers have already been completed by candidates and the assessor misplaces them, then this would be maladministration. There must be robust systems in place to ensure that there is no chance for misplacement of assessment papers. Incomplete registration forms would also be maladministration. We must collect certain information about candidates, so fields must be completed in full. Not obtaining the required information from candidates is maladministration. Poor record keeping is also maladministration, and any information a centre is required to keep must be kept accurately and in a systematic way. Forgetting to put something onto a spreadsheet should not happen, and failing to keep accurate and up-to-date records in whatever form that may take is maladministration. You'll notice that all 4 of the examples given may be down to simple errors, and when centres or assessors are busy and under pressure, obviously mistakes do happen. However, several instances of maladministration, such as repeatedly misplacing assessment papers, does constitute malpractice, because it demonstrates to us at MP Awards that the centre's processes and procedures are failing. So, how is malpractice and maladministration identified? An incident of malpractice or maladministration may be identified by the centre, by MP Awards, or by a third party. So what should you do if you suspect or have identified malpractice or maladministration at your centre? You should refer to MP Awards' malpractice and maladministration policy, plus the policy for adverse effects, as these contain vital information. It would be useful for the future if you were to familiarise yourself with the content of these policies, just in case anything should occur. When malpractice is identified or suspected, MP Awards will follow the procedures laid out in these policies. The most important thing to do is to contact us, even if you're not sure there is actually anything amiss. As I mentioned before, we can assist and advise you and are here to help. You should also get in touch to report any near-miss events, because these can often be learned from and make processes more robust for the future. It's important to ensure that your centre's malpractice and maladministration policies are kept up to date and under review, and that you and all centre staff understand the process that must be followed if malpractice or maladministration is suspected or identified. Again, just get in touch with us if you're unsure about anything to do with malpractice or maladministration. And remember that failing to report suspected or identified malpractice or maladministration is itself malpractice. We will be putting together another presentation that focuses on the reporting of events at a later date, so do keep an eye out for that. That's the end of this video, but if you have any queries about anything contained within it, then please do get in touch. You can reach me by email at sarah.payne@mpawards.co.uk, or you can call the office on 0115 972 6121. For more information on any of MP Awards qualifications, please visit the website at www.mpawards.co.uk. Thanks for watching.